Hi, it's Dawn H. Jones here, your HR Wise Guide, and today's subject is called Appealing a Disciplinary Outcome. Now, if you've received, excuse me, a disciplinary sanction from your employer, you have the right to appeal the outcome. Okay. Now, examples of sanctions include written warning, final written warning, action short of dismissal, dismissal with notice, and summary dismissal. Now, it's really important that you read your employer's disciplinary policy and procedure so that you know and understand what their specific sanctions are. Okay. Now, let's look at the outcome of your disciplinary hearing. Now, whether the disciplinary hearing outcome letter comes via email or it comes via post, it's really important that you read the outcome letter promptly and you pay attention to the deadline for submitting your appeal. So I can fully appreciate that when someone receives, an employee receives a disciplinary hearing outcome letter, and this may also be your experience, is that you're tempted not to open it up, you're tempted to put it off. But here's the thing, contained within the outcome letter will be the outcome proceedings and the outcome, but there's also within there a deadline for submitting your appeal. And this is the date that you need to be working to. So the longer you put off opening your letter, you risk shortening the time that you have to prepare for your appeal, or you risk kind of like not being able to submit an appeal at all because the appeal period is past. So I suppose I just want to encourage you, at least open it up, find out that the date that you're actually working to, okay? That's all that I'm asking you to do at this stage, okay? And I'm going to help you to submit an appeal that manages your health and well-being, but also helps you to exercise your right of appeal. Because I understand. I'm empathetic to the fact that you've been through a process, you've potentially got an outcome that has shocked you. You're thinking about what this means for your future. You're grappling with all of this, and now you're having to think about submitting an appeal. It's a quick pivot, to put it mildly. But as I said, I want to help you to do that in a way that protects your health and well-being, and it balances that with submitting a timely appeal. So, in order for me to help you, I want to break down the appeal window into manageable pieces, parts rather. And in order to do that, I'm going to give you an example of somebody that has a 7 days to appeal. Now, bear in mind, sorry, that you have to pay attention to the specific date and if you've been given a time in which you need to be appealed. But I'm just going to give you an example that you take the principles from. So on day one, write to your employer confirming you'll be submitting an appeal. Now, you can write a brief response to your employer, something along these lines. Dear manager, and that's the manager of the name of the manager who you'll be appealing to, or the HR department. Read disciplinary appeal. I confirm receipt of the disciplinary hearing outcome letter dated X, which I received on X date. I confirm I will appeal the decision, whatever that decision was that you're appealing against, and submit my written appeal by the stated deadline and specify what the deadline is. Yours sincerely. Now, I suggest emailing this to the relevant individual, the relevant manager that's hearing the appeal, or the HR department, because emails are date and time stamped. Now, if you was accompanied by a trade union representative or workplace colleague, you may also want to copy them into this communication so that you can ensure a consistency and cohesiveness of communication. You can also add a read receipt for added assurance, and you can also send a copy of your appeal by recorded delivery. So on day one, if you have been able to confirm to your employer that you'll be submitting an appeal, if you've done that, you've done well. So I want to acknowledge you for that. And you may want to go off and do some self-care for the rest of the day, or at least think about something completely different, right? Day two, read the outcome letter, the disciplinary hearing outcome letter, a few times to ensure that you understand the content fully. I also recommend rereading all the related documents related to the process, such as the disciplinary report and the disciplinary policy. And once you've done that, consider your grounds of appeal carefully. Now, grounds of appeal can include if the sanction was too harsh, whether the fairness of the process, or whether your employer considered all the evidence or considered the evidence appropriately, for example. Now, again, if you was accompanied by a trade union representative or work colleague, you may want to discuss the grounds of appeal that you are considering submitting with them. Again, it ensures this, the consistency and cohesiveness of communication. All right. And also at that point, if you are discussing draft grounds of appeals with somebody like the two, like your workplace colleague or your trade union representative, you may want to say to them at this point, look, I'm going to begin drafting, and I'll send it to you, the draft grounds, by such and such a date. I will need you to return it to me by such and such a date so that I can meet the appeal deadline. Okay, so that's day two. Day three and four, draft your grounds of appeal. And give yourself a good couple of days to do this. So just give yourself the time, grace, space, and time to do that. Draft your grounds of appeal. Day five, send your draft to your trade union representative or your workplace colleague, as you previously discussed. They will turn it around hopefully within the time period you discussed. So say that's day six. Incorporate any amendments or make any final amendments. Incorporate any amendments that your workplace colleague has suggested or your trade union representative has suggested. You're not obligated to, but at least consider them and determine whether or not it's appropriate to include their amendments. But ultimately, this is your document, this is your appeal, so you have got to be happy. You have got to agree, sign off the final draft. Now, if your submission has appendices, I want you to remember, or if you're not aware, to cross-reference appendices in your main document. And I also want to say, don't underestimate how long this can take. So you might have a final document, but at the end of the day, you may still need to cross-reference your appendices and do final checks around that. And it actually takes longer than what you may think, or it can take longer than what you may think. So please make sure that you incorporate this within your timeline as well. Day seven, which is your final submission date, if you've been able to submit your disciplinary appeal before that date, great. If not, this is the final submission date, all right? And you want to make sure you get it in there on time. And if there's been a time given, that you're submitting it by the date and time given, and that deadline being the deadline that has been detailed in your disciplinary hearing outcome letter. So that's how I would suggest breaking things down into manageable chunks. So you know what you're doing on a day by day basis, because you are going to need every possible moment or you're going to have to leave yourself sufficient time to make sure that you are submitting a strong and a robust appeal that you're able to check thoroughly before you submit. Now, that's a lot. So you'll have probably been in a disciplinary process for a period of time. So I want to kind of like end this video on a note of self-care. So if you need support during this process, you can get support from your GP, employee assistance scheme. Typically, employee assistance schemes, if your organisation has signed up to one or commissioned one, offers 5 to 7 free sessions of counselling, tons of wellbeing advice. You may want to get advice from your professional body, your trade union rep, or your trade union website if you are a member. Another source of support are family and friends. You've just got to bear in mind that there are some things that you won't be able to tell family and friends. So you may only be able to say, look, I'm going through a challenging time of work, at work. I would appreciate your support. And say what that looks like for you, all right? But remember, do your utmost, avoid breaching any confidentiality, because that may bring other issues for you. So, when you are appealing against a disciplinary sanction, it can be challenging, it can feel overwhelming. So, remember to break down the process into manageable milestones, into a manageable timeline, and that enables you to look after your health and well-being. Now, if you would like support with the HR process, you can book a HR clarity call with me. I'll put the details in the description below this video, as well as details of my other HR packages. Now, until next week, thank you for listening. Remember to be HR wise and don't miss that appeal deadline. Thank you. Bye bye.